Hello, everybody, and welcome to osTEAo, that is with a capital TEA, where OsteoWarriors in treatment and recent survivors spill the tea on all things osteosarcoma and cancer from the adolescent young adult patient perspective. Listen in on our honest and personal conversations about our osteo experiences, stories, and who knows what else. You know we get off track. This podcast discusses all aspects of the young adult cancer experience in a conversational format. Audience discretion is advised. Please like and follow MIB agents on social media for all of the intel and hot goss.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here again. As always, welcome to Osteo, brought to you by the wonderful Moore family. We absolutely could not do it without them and their support, so thank you so much.
This is a very, very important episode, not only because it is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which obviously is very important in our lives. And the reason why this episode is from patient to patient advocate is because the people who are on this podcast have made that transition from patient to patient advocate. And it is so rewarding. And I would not have made that jump without MIB. And I don't think I would be as close with MIB if it weren't for someone very important who unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks ago, who we are all very close to, Camille Wahl. She was one of my closest friends, had been for a very long time. We both were what we call long haulers who are incurable. So it's a kind of rare niche within a rare niche that we were a part of. And she woke up every day wanting to make things better, wanting to make things better for everyone, not just cancer patients, but really for those in our community. She gave so much to MIB. She actually, this podcast is her baby. The Osteo was her idea, and I was one of the original co-hosts with her. And it is such an honor to be carrying on her legacy. I miss her so much every single day. I am still waiting for, when you send a meme to someone on Instagram for her profile to drop down a little bit, because I don't have the heart to unfollow her, obviously. But we would not be here today on this podcast if it weren't for her. And she is forever loved by everyone in our community. And we will miss her so much, and we will carry on her legacy the best that we can.
Yeah, that was beautifully said. Obviously, Camille meant a lot to a lot of people. She was a pillar, not just within MIB, but within the osteosarcoma community. I know for me, when I was first diagnosed, she was one of my first osteo friends, and one of the first people that I reached out to that actually reached back out to me. And she was just a light. And she's someone who all of us will carry forever. And like Mia said, like this podcast was her baby, and she made it what it is. I mean, what she wanted to was to make things better for family members and siblings and patients. And she just had like the biggest heart. And the devastating part of osteosarcoma is that it just like, it's so unfair. Like Camille was our age, also in her 20s, and it's so unfortunate to continuously lose friends to this awful disease. But we carry on with this podcast and with her legacy, and she'll always would live within Osteo, because this is doing exactly what she wanted, which is just helping people. So we'll always keep her in the forefront of our mind, and we can't thank her enough for everything that she did within MIB and outside of MIB. I know she was so, so loved. I mean, the outpouring of love when we all heard the devastating news was just like, she deserved all the love. And I know she's going to be missed. And yeah, we send our love to her family, obviously, and we're always going to carry her. And it's an honor to co-host this podcast now with Mia. It was beautifully made, and we're going to continue this in her legacy. And I know that she'd be proud of us and proud of you, Mia, because I know you guys were super close.
She really was amazing. And not to go too deep into this, because I will cry. She had osteosarcoma for over half of her life. So this is why we do what we do, to make sure that no one else has to live over half of their lives or suffer as much as any of the long haulers, even the short haulers. I'm not, but, just anyone who's really, really been through the ringer with this disease. And we do this for her. We do this for all of us. So without further ado, let's get started with her baby. We are halfway through Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Cannot believe it. September has flown by. But you can show your support with a gold bow. Don't forget about our gold bow program. It's fantastic. A gold bow isn't just a decoration, it's a symbol of courage, love, and a reminder to families that they are not alone. Gold bows are spreading hope from across the US to as far away as Australia. We have many countries where this is going on. It's been so amazing being a part of MIB for the past few years and seeing how much we've grown, and how much our influence has spread. And bows is a big part of that. Um, so many communities proudly display their gold bows year round, serving as a constant reminder of the need to make it better in honor of our osteo warriors and osteo angels everywhere. And if you haven't ordered your gold bow yet, don't worry. Also, I think gold is such a festive winter color and a fall color. So, like, have that thing up, you know? If you haven't ordered your bow yet, all good. It is not too late. With a donation of just $25, you'll receive a bow for your home, school, or storefront, wherever you want to put it. And every bow directly supports kids and families facing osteosarcoma while funding essential programs and research. Already have your bow? Great. Look at you go. Gold bows can be placed anywhere, and we want to see where you put yours. Snap a pic or record a quick video holding it and say, I got my bow. Post it with hashtag I got my bow so we can see and share your support far and wide. And don't forget to tag us. And you can always order your bow today at mibagents.org/bows. And if you have any questions, please contact Anita, Anita, at mibagents.org.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our Gold Bow program. It makes me really happy to see like my family and my community proudly display these bows. I keep mine up year round, like Mia says, like it beautiful color gold, like just goes with everything, I think, just brightens up the room. I keep mine on my door and then we put one on the front door, and it's just something you can have year round, but more so during September, more important because it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So yeah, order your bows like Mia said and help us support. And it may seem early, speaking of stuff you can help and ways you can support, but we urge you to support all of our MIB programs by ordering your holiday greeting card from us today. And I know like we're in, what is it, September? But if Mariah Carey's defrosting already, I feel like we can start putting out our holiday cards. Each box contains 12 cards and 13 envelopes, and our creations from some of our very own Osteo Warriors. One of them being our wonderful Jillian, who's on the junior advisor board, just so talented, and they're that much more special because they're made exclusively for MIP and from Osteo Warriors. The prices include standard delivery, which is $19 per box, or 5 boxes for $75. You can order yours in the MIB store or by emailing Anita at mibagents.org. Again, that's Anita, Anita, at mibagents.org. Anita's a very busy woman. She takes care of all of our programs. So Anita, if you see this, shout out to you. Thank you. We're going to continue. Speaking of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, this month we are actually going to DC again for Climb the Hill Day. And our boards, both the junior advisory board and our new board, Next Gen, will be traveling, like we said, to DC with Kids v Cancer to climb the hill and advocate for the Give Kids a Chance Act. What is the Give Kids a Chance Act, you may ask? The Give Kids a Chance Act is a bipartisan bill that would make it possible for kids with cancer to access more clinical trials. Right now, unfortunately, children are often left out of combination drug trials, especially trials that test new targeted therapies or immunotherapies, even when those same drugs are already being used in studies in adults. Ridiculous. This bill closes that gap by making sure pharmaceutical companies include kids when there's a scientific reason to believe that those treatments could help them. For that bill to move forward, it needs more co-sponsors in Congress. And that's where our boards come in, Junior Advisory Board and Next Gen. On September 19th, we will actually be on Capitol Hill, and we will be there with Kid v Cancer, like I said, for Climb the Hill Day. We'll be meeting with congressional representatives and their staff, sharing our personal stories and asking them to co-sponsor the Give Kids a Chance Act, because kids fighting cancer deserve more, and kids fighting cancer deserve access to the very best treatments and the very best chance at life. Another little fun fact, tidbit for everyone, not fun fact. Only about 4% of federal cancer funding research goes towards childhood cancers. That's this many. If I get like on one hand, it's ridiculous if you think about how many types of cancer there are and how many children are diagnosed per year within the United States. So we really, really need to push this, and fingers crossed that this year it's actually passed. And that's why bills like this, the Give Kids a Chance Act, matter so much. And if you want to learn more about the Give Kids a Chance Act, go to kidsbecancer.org/GKAC-summary.
Thank you, Sammy, for filling everyone in on the Give Kids a Chance Act. This is so important. It is a great way to advocate for any AYA cancer patients and just children's health in general. It is more important now than ever. So definitely, if you have the time, look into it. And it is really, really a rewarding program. And MIB has done such great work with them. I am honored to be even mentioned within the same breath as MIB these days. So definitely check it out. And as always, please feel free to reach out to us and submit ideas for any future topics you want us to cover. We always love hearing from you. Again, this is a podcast advocating for osteo warriors and their families and their friends and their siblings and their caretakers, the whole osteosarcoma community. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you want us to cover, and we will do it. We love you. So again, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you all here today. And we are going to go into our first and only segment. What's the tea? No, like literally. So we're going to go around and share what preferably tea, or if not, just a regular beverage we're drinking, and give it a review and rate. We're going to share our name, age, where we're from, what we're doing, a little bit about our osteosarcoma history and what we're drinking, and just rate it. I can go first. My name is Mia Sandino. I am 26 years old. I live with my mom in LA with our 5 cats and 2 dogs. I'm sure that you have seen the cats walking behind me in other episodes before, if not heard Willow's screech before. She is quite a yowler, and she is in the room. So let's start placing bets on how long it'll take her to break the sound barrier. But I am currently in a cannabis studies program at Syracuse University online. I am loving it. It is the perfect combination of working with people with chronic illnesses while not needing a full-time degree. So I am really enjoying it, and, living in California, it's a great industry to go into. I've had osteosarcoma. It will be 7 years this upcoming Monday, which will be after this airs. Which is really crazy to me. I cannot believe that I've had osteosarcoma for 7 years now. I am incurable and was deemed incurable in September of 2022. So it'll be 3 years since they said, we have no more options for you. And I'm still here, which is great. And so that makes every little beverage taste all the sweeter, that I am very lucky to still be here and be advocating for this community. So I am drinking water mixed with yuzu ginger honey extract because there has been a lot. See, she's already, there she goes. I am drinking water with yuzu ginger honey extract because there's just a lot going around right now, especially COVID in SoCal. So I'm trying to boost my immunity, a lot of vitamin C in here, and I think it's delicious and it's nice and cool, even though it's ironically a cold front, even though it's only in the upper 70s here. That's considered a cold front in September, I guess. But I still, because it's still a little toasty, I have, my ice drink, and I'm going to give it a 10. And Sloane, I'm going to throw it to you, my friend.
Hi, my name's Sloane. I am 20 years old. I'm originally from Chicago. My family now lives in Atlanta, and I go to school just outside of Dallas at the University of North Texas, where I study jazz vocal performance. I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma in my right femur when I was 12 years old. I had standard MAP protocol and an initial limb salvage surgery, and I have now been NED for 8 years, which has been incredible. However, I've struggled a lot with surgical complications, including a lot of debilitating pain. So in 2023, I elected for an amputation above the knee, and just this past summer, I had my first revision on my amputated leg, and we're still trying to figure out a lot of my pain issues. So we're just seeing how it goes, but I'm so grateful that I'm able to continue with school and just do what I love, which is great. Today, I'm drinking water because I have had so many performances this week, and my voice is dead. So hydration is key. And so, yeah, water with my Ali Thomas Strong little sticker, which is my favorite.
Water
Anyway,
is the ultimate adult beverage. So,
truly is.
Highly recommend. Sloane, you're a trooper. I love to see that you're doing a little better after your surgery, and fingers crossed they get all your pain figured out because that's just so inconvenient and so annoying.
they'll have to
We'll go
hear
ahead and
from
pass
me
it
if
to
they don't.
Alejandro next.
Yes, my name is Alejandro Lopez. I'm 22 years old, live in San Antonio, Texas. Not going to school, but keeping busy with work. And then being involved with another cancer organization that I helped start and run here in San Antonio. I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma in my left ankle back in 2023, 10 days after my 21st birthday. What a gift. I'm coming up on This is 11 months NED coming up on a year. Um, so definitely keeping busy. So blessed to be involved with this organization, and getting to know these amazing people, this family that we have here, that just understand what we go through and what, being a osteosarcoma survivor and patient is all about. So for my beverage, I have a Georgia peach and cherry sweet tea. So definitely a 10 out of 10.
That sounds so good. We're so happy to have you as a part of the MIB family too. It makes me so happy how each year it grows. And Alejandro, like after Factor, just an instant buddy. And also for those of you watching, Mackenzie and Alejandro will be climbing the hill this year with us and advocating. So on top of all the amazing things they already do, they're taking it a step further and they're going straight to the Capitol and telling congressmen and women, we need to care and we need you to care. We'll go ahead and pass it to our other osteo warrior, Mackenzie.
Hi, my name's Mackenzie. I'm 19 and I'm from Arkansas. My journey started in 2020 in the middle of COVID. We had just started back at school. I was doing cross country and soccer, and I noticed a bump on my left femur. And it took a while to get a doctor because of COVID. So it was a little delay there. But about 3 months later, I was diagnosed with osteosarcoma. They started chemo like a week or two later, had 9 months of MAP, had a limb salvage surgery. Unfortunately, the chemo worsened my heart function. And after having a revision surgery after my leg got infected a year after, I went into heart failure. So I had to get a heart pump placed in my heart to keep my heart pumping for just under 2 years before I had a heart transplant last year.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wait, what are you drinking? If you
I am drinking tea that is now cold. So for that, I'll give it like a 7 because I wish it was warm right now because my room is really cold.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Mia, still in Southern California, and we're like, it's starting to get cold, but that's like, what, like high 70s, like even like low 80s. I'm
It's
like
going to
wearing
back up
sweat.
to the 80s next week. It's not, this is the
Oh,
cold
okay.
front that's blowing.
Okay, I was nervous. I was like, is it winter already? Because it's
No,
like low
no,
70s.
no.
I'm
I wish,
freezing.
no. It's going to be hot till December and you know it.
Yeah, I know other states get snow, and I'm over here like we're in the 70s. Like I need to start like bring out the winter coats and stuff. But yeah, I'm Sammy Uyoa. I'm 23 years old. I was about to say 22, but I just turned 23. I forget that I'm getting older. It's scary. I'm from Southern California, a little town called Redlands. I am currently pursuing a degree in psychology online, but keep my schedule pretty open so I can do more advocacy. I was diagnosed in August of 2022 in my right proximal tibia after having an abundant amount of pain when I was running, because previously I was a Division I cross country runner, and it just became unbearable. And then they ended up finding a tumor on my tibia. Shortly after my diagnosis, I started chemo, and then in November of 2022, I underwent a limb salvage surgery. So I do have an internal prosthetic in my right leg. For those returning viewers, as you know, my prosthetic, I named her Tiffany, but spelled like knee, like a knee. She started giving me problems just recently. I finished treatment in May of 2023, and I had a small surgery in January 2024 to strengthen her, I guess. And then just recently, like earlier this year, we noticed that it was loosening and starting to push up against the inside of my femur. So they had to go in, and at the very end of July, actually this year, so not too long ago, I underwent a pretty big revision surgery. They completely replaced the upper portion of my prosthetic. So Tiffany's, she got revamped and so far doing well. Super, super grateful that now I'm like back up on my feet a lot quicker than I thought I would be and just in time for Climb the Hill Day. I'm currently drinking, I have this little cup that they actually sent us. It says, give me the tea. So it's super fitting for like osTEAo. I'm having a cranberry, guava, passion fruit. There was another fruit. I can't remember it now. I kept like saying it in my head so I wouldn't forget. But it's juice because again, like it's still a little bit too hot here to like enjoy tea in the middle of the day, at least for me, because I'm a chronic sweater. But oh, it's like I've had this juice before. Highly recommend. I would have to give it a 10 out of 10. So with that, I'll toss it over to Mia so we can get started.
Yeah, I am so excited to get started on this topic. I know that it can get a little bit deep, but I just want to thank you guys again for all being here and being willing to open your hearts and talk about why you got into advocacy and why you're here. So let us start off with some questions. Alejandro, I'm going to start with you because I just think this is a great question and I think you'd have a great answer. When you think back on your cancer experience, what's one part of that journey that was especially painful, and how have you been able to turn that pain into something purposeful? I know you said that you have helped found another organization in San Antonio, so I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yes, I think the painful thing, especially regarding the type of cancer that we have, osteosarcoma, is that it's so rare. And just, sarcomas in general is just you've never hear of it. And I think the thing that was the most painful was just, not having the help, not having the information, going into the unknown, of course, in any cancer diagnosis, that's what you're going into. But with such a rare disease that we have and such like, little research about it and improvements with, chemos and radiations and whatnot, it's just, very okay, like what's the next step? Like you genuinely are like stepping into the unknown. Uh, um, and obviously, I think that's a lot of people's fear. It's just the fear of the unknown. So that was one thing. And I didn't have anybody really that I could talk to that had the same type of cancer or just sarcoma in general throughout my chemo process. At MD Anderson, when I was getting treated there for a while, of course, I made, a few friends here and there, but it was different cancers. Um, so my main thing was, okay, if I'm feeling like this as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, how is a child feeling through this? Like, and though the parents of the child, it's very scary, going through it alone in a sense. So that was one thing that I really strive for is just first the advocacy of just, okay, this is a cancer that's out there that's affecting so many children and young adults. But two, you're not alone. There are people that have gone through this that understand how you're feeling. Um, and I just had this passion for um, that was my goal is to make this more aware and just be there for people that don't have anybody through that process, letting know that they're not alone through this. So that was my main thing, and that's why I kind of helped start this other organization here in town, and um, specifically, the sarcoma, just a rare disease, a rare cancer, and just letting people know that we are one of the few that have been through that path. Um, the other young lady that's who really started it, she had a sarcoma. And so we similar path. And so you just take that and you let that fire burn and drive your motivation to create that community. Not everybody has access to, MIB or know about MIB. And that's just kind of the gateway into, okay, there are other organizations that are here for you that understand what the process is, different stages of that process, and that just get it. So that's definitely the pain that kind of drive my advocacy.
That is really incredible. Thank you so much for sharing and for being such a strong advocate, especially in your hometown. I know that San Antonio is a big city, but unfortunately, not everyone lives near major cities. or not everyone has the experience where there are other osteosarcoma patients within their hospital. I was lucky enough at UCLA to meet a couple of osteosarcoma patients along the way, as well as some kids with similar sarcomas. Unfortunately, I am one of the only survivors of that group, and that is one of the reasons why I continue to push on here, because none of us know why we have this cancer. None of us know why we got this cancer, how we got this cancer, and none of us know, you know, how it's going to impact us. And like you said, it's terrifying, especially if you don't have the information and suddenly you're overwhelmed by emotion, but you also have to act quickly. And I wish that I had MIB at the very beginning of when I was first diagnosed. I got involved about 2 years after I was diagnosed. And so it's just it boosted my mental health so much, just knowing that there were, I mean, it also broke my heart, but that there were other people going through what I was going through. When you feel, you know, you see that number and you're like, oh my God, it's 400 to 800 cases diagnosed in the US per year. That's such a small number. And what are the odds of those people being near you? And so this is such a wonderful way to bring us all together. And it definitely saved me during COVID, because I was able to still build my osteosarcoma community without having to leave my home and risk getting sick while I was neutropenic. And that is what these communities are for. That is what advocacy leads to, is things like climbing the hill and the Give Kids a Chance Act, and things like us bringing together this podcast. And it means so much to me. And I just, again, want to reiterate how important it is for us all to be doing the work that we're doing. And thank you all for doing the work that we do. And Sloane, I would love to ask you essentially the same question: is what was kind of your turning point to get into the more advocacy side of being a patient?
I kind of turned to advocacy pretty early on. One of my childhood best friends was actually diagnosed with neuroblastoma a year before I was diagnosed. And so my family, we took care of their dogs. We would clean their house. I would, like, before she lost her hair, I would hold her hair back as she puked and like all of that. And so I got like a very good idea of what I was in for. And so immediately her mom found MIB agents and sent it to my mom and was like, you have to go. They're having their first conference ever. You need to go. And that's how we first got connected. And just the support that I got during my treatment really encouraged me to continue giving it to other people, since I was in a position where I could. But when you're talking about like the most painful experience of like that you turned into something good, I would say that's probably linked to my surgical issues. I was forced into a surgical decision that I did not want by my first surgeon, and I ended up with a very large limb salvage. And it has like screwed my life entirely. It is the sole reason I can't walk. It is the sole reason I'm in so much pain. And I really want to make sure that when people are getting these very intense, life-changing surgeries, that they are making the right choice for them and their life and what they want to be able to do. And I think I've been able to do that, at least to some extent. There's some people that I have talked to and now they're getting rotation plasty or something that they really wanted, or going from limb salvage to amputation, but usually in a much smoother way than my transition. And I feel very jealous that I'm not able to experience that, but I also feel so incredibly grateful to see so many people flourish.
Yeah, I mean, your advice helped me even just like a couple months back. I was reaching out to Sloane and they were telling me their story with their experience with cement in their leg. And they were like, do not allow them to cement your femur. And now like they did not cement my femur and I'm doing a lot better. And I think a big part of it is because I had feedback from someone who unfortunately Sloane didn't have a Sloane, but thankfully the rest of us have Sloane. So what about you, Mackenzie? What was a turning point in your experience that kind of drew you towards advocacy?
I think The turning point for me is when all my heart stuff happened because it was a result from chemo. Um, I had to have a revision quite early on, like a year after my whole surgery site got infected. I had two surgeries to clean it out. A month later, another one to put another cadaver bone in. And 2 days after that, I was back in the hospital in stage heart failure. And I think, like, once I got out of that and looking back and realized that was really the chemo's problem. And there wasn't much research done in many years to find a new solution or a preventative medicine at all, which I don't think we should have preventative medicines that just have a new chemo altogether. But that's why things like kidney cancer is so important, so they can do multi-drug studies and so they can find a solution, because most, like MAP is 3 chemos for us. So when they can do multi-drug studies, it's so much more important. They can find something faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. We need all the options that we can get. And I swear it is not just shameless plugging, but this is why we have the Give Kids a Chance Act and why well, I unfortunately can't make it because I have a family wedding, but why everyone is getting so involved. And it just it warms my heart, truly, in this crazy world with all this crazy news going on 24/7. It's so easy to get inundated with the negative, and seeing positive changes like this, and people who really do want to, make it better. That we really are slowly but surely making change, and we are building that community. And I'm just so glad that we were able to, be here for you, during your complications, and we're so happy to have you involved with us. And it's just we all are one crazy messed up team, and that is a beautiful thing. I think we're like the Avengers or the Justice League or whatever of osteosarcoma, which is why there's the cape on our logo. Is we are our kind of our own heroes. I feel like I look up to all of you, even though I am the oldest one here. It's just really hard to get your voice heard. It's scary to speak up. It is, you know, but we have all this energy of what can I do to make myself feel better? And the best thing that we can do, what I learned in psych, Sammy, I know you're taking psych too, was social support. There is a very strong correlation and causation between social support and survival rates. So I think that that is a really amazing part of advocacy work, is knowing that you could be helping boost survival rates for your friends, and like increasing their quality of life. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing. Um, and advocacy can really be empowering, but it just also asks us to share very, very vulnerable parts of our story. Mackenzie, you've been so open, about your heart failure and your heart transplant. Sloane, you've been so open about your surgical complications. Alejandro, you've been so open through this whole experience. I know it's difficult, and it's hard being this vulnerable. And so how, I guess, Sammy, and I guess we can start with you, because I feel like we rarely ask each other the questions. And I really do want to hear your answer. How do you balance protecting yourself emotionally with using your voice for change?
I think I've definitely found support amongst my peers. Like, you see that your vulnerability, like if you do feel open to being open, it has a huge impact on the people around you. And even just like sometimes just having little conversations like this, you have people that pull you aside and they're like, I've never heard someone vocalize how I feel the way that you said, and I resonate with it so much. So the way that I kind of like protect myself, because it can be hard, is like leaning on people that understand, like genuinely. Like, I obviously lean on my support circle here, but I genuinely do find that my friends at MIB are a huge support for me. I mean, just at this past MIB factor, I had the honor of giving the opening keynote speech, and that in itself felt very vulnerable. And it was really scary, but for me, I kept looking up, and I would look up at my friends sitting in the audience, and I felt that they were sending me all positive energy, and I felt like I could do it because they were there. So for me, being vulnerable is scary, but knowing that there's people that it can help, and then there's people that are there when I feel like I'm going to fall apart just helps me continue to go. What about, let's start with Alejandro. What about you? How do you protect yourself emotionally while continuing to use your voice for change?
So at first I was very hesitant to open up, obviously, as most of us are, because it's a very personal thing. Not everybody is diagnosed with cancer, but the people that are, is it changes their whole world. So finding that happy medium of, okay, or coming to that realization for me was, okay, I know I'm going through this, but how many more people are going through this that need to hear, like, there is hope. Things can happen to where you can change and you have something to look forward to. Especially, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I had a below the knee amputation on my left leg, and before, I had the choice of the option of having my amputation. It was very scary thing. Obviously, like, who wants to chop their limbs off? Like, who has this is the choice that you're given. It's like, okay, well, these don't sound very great, first of all. But I had someone come to the house that was an amputee, and he kind of just explained, everything that he's done since his amputation, and kind of gave me that hope, like, okay, this isn't the end of my life. Like, this is just the beginning. Like, this isn't it for
Yeah.
me. And so that's kind of my turning point, where it's like, okay, well, now on the opposite side, after my amputation, best decision I ever made. Like, I'm able to do so much more. When we went to for our factor conference, we did the rock climbing. I'd never done that before my amputation. Didn't think I'd ever be able to do that after. And there I was climbing up the side of this rock wall, and it's like, okay, wow. That, first of all, that's crazy. And then doing that with a prosthesis as an amputee is just even more like mind-boggling to me. Um, but being vulnerable is just, it's less about me and more about how it can look to someone else that's going through the same thing. And it's kind of just getting in that mentality for me. It's like, okay, let me do this for other people. Like, obviously, yes, like, I wish I would have had, or I did have some of that going through this process, but I want that to be able to help more people that aren't able to, look at stuff like this and weigh their options and be like, okay, well, this isn't the end of the world for me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a very hard thing to navigate. Very hard decisions that a lot of young people have to make. So just being vulnerable and letting your story, telling your story to give hope to everybody else is the main thing for me. It's just, not everything is doom and gloom, but at the same time, like, there are going to be days where it's not so good, but there's going to be days where it's great.
Mhm.
And just giving that people that realization of, like, okay, you know, don't give up. Don't give
Yeah.
up. Like, there is hope.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to ask you specifically just one more question, because on the podcast, I would say most of the time we have women and non-binary folks predominantly on the pod. And I again don't want to get too political with this, but I know that it's hard for a lot of young men in Gen Z and Gen Alpha to show their vulnerability, even though we have made strides about talking about mental health. A lot of people feel like it threatens their masculinity to be vulnerable. So if there, do you have a message for young men with osteo who, because predominantly osteosarcoma, if you
Yeah.
look at our statistics, is predominantly young men that are diagnosed as between the ages of 13 and 25. So do you have anything that you
Yeah.
you want to say to the fellas to hopefully
It's
get more of them involved in the process?
it's definitely hard just being a man and being able to be vulnerable without cancer. Um, and especially, depending on how you're raised, like in a Hispanic household, that's even more present.
Yeah.
Um, but it's getting out of that narrative of, okay, you can't show your weak side, you can't be vulnerable. Like, people are gonna look down at you. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think about you, if you're vulnerable, if you cry or whatever. You're human. We have feelings. Like the more you push it down, the harder it's going to be for you. And I had to learn that the hard way. Like you have to open up, you have to talk about it. Because when you don't talk about it, it builds up and it manifests. And one day it's just boom. You have to be able to, and sometimes it is a pride thing. Sometimes it's just how we're raised, like how culture is. Like if you're a man, you can't talk about your feelings. But going through something as life changing as getting a cancer diagnosis, especially like osteosarcoma, having that boldness, that courage to say, "Hey, I need help," or "I'm struggling," that is the most. How do I say this? As a man, that's the biggest thing you could do to be a
Yeah.
man. Like be in your feelings, be in your emotions, and validate them. Don't push them off. Like they are valid. What you're feeling is real. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but it's very necessary. And I feel like once you break that initial shell, it's much more easier to come out and talk and be vulnerable. Because a lot of people find it helpful, especially men. Like you're able to bond and create relation and talk about something that's very hard to talk about in the first place. So it's very much needed. But yeah, it's a good question. I like that.
That's beautifully said. Like you explained it so well, and I know that like our male viewers are really going to appreciate it. Also, circling back to the rock climbing thing while we're on the topic of Alejandro, for those of you who weren't there, like Mackenzie and I saw, he was flying up and down the wall. Like it's just like the epitome of like not allowing what this cancer does to us to limit us. It was just so beautiful that day, and like I would have thought you'd done that before, and you're telling us now that you hadn't done it till then. But it just really like it was just like a visual like of your strength, because we know that you're strong. I mean, look at you just being here and being vulnerable and everything. It just takes so much strength and courage to do what you're already doing. And yeah, we really appreciate you being here. And you've been on a couple episodes now, and we just love having you back because you always just give like the realest, the most honest feedback and to our viewers. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think the next question, I'm going to start with Mackenzie. I know that you've done a lot of advocacy. Can you remember any specific instance where you've seen your advocacy make a difference, or maybe you told someone a story and it helped them and it's something that stuck with you and kind of encourages you and pushes you to continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is I was able to speak at like my hospital's Gala of Hope, and they like the donators and all our local people from the hospital and all of that thought it was so impactful to hear from me because they usually hear from a parent, but it's really important that they hear from the kid that went through it. Lots of the kids that go through children's hospitals are really, really young and they don't always hear from AYA people. So they were just so impacted emotionally to hear from me specifically. And that's why I think it's important that I speak. So maybe those kids that are so young when they go through it don't think about it too much in the moment, that I can speak for them and show people it's still important.
Yeah, I think it's super nice that like these little moments come to mind because I think like we've been talking about this whole time. It's really being an advocate is not easy. Being vulnerable is not easy. But then you think back to these moments where you've seen what you're trying to do in action and actually positively impacting someone's life. And I think all of us can agree that that's something that it's like the next time I'm put in a situation where vulnerability feels scary, I think back to those instances and I think, look at how I helped that person. And what I want to do is continue to help other people the way I did for that one person. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing with us. I'm going to pass it to Sloane. I want to hear if you have any story that comes to mind about that question. Like is there anything that comes to mind when you think about what drives you to continue to be an advocate, or an instance where you specifically help someone that stuck with you?
I think one that really sticks out to me is the factor in San Diego. I met this little girl named Christy, and she had just had her limb salvage, and she was so nervous, and she was so self-conscious, and she was like, I'm never gonna dance again. I'm never gonna do the things I want to. And I just sat down and I had a long talk with her, just saying, like, answering all of her many questions, because she wanted to do musical theater just like I did. And she just wanted so bad to know that it could be okay. And anytime that I ever saw her again, like, she just got so excited. And I also got just so excited because as I saw her progress, like one year she missed Factor because she was in a musical. Like, and I was just like, I wish you were here, but I'm so freaking proud of you because that's so great. And yeah, like, I think little moments like that and those types of connections, especially with younger patients, I really value because it can be really dark, especially in childhood cancer, to see how many people pass and to see just how much struggle comes from this diagnosis. But I think it's also beautiful that we can create and cultivate so much connection through it. And I really think that that has really cemented me in advocacy of just wanting to see where everyone else goes and what everyone is able to accomplish.
Yeah. And obviously just I want to make a musical theater joke as someone who grew up working behind the scenes very frequently. Sloane, you are truly one of one. You are a singular sensation every little step you take. I truly think that your advocacy work has been incredible, and I know how much that talk with Christy meant to her. And she was someone that I also got to meet at Factor. She unfortunately has passed away. But my mom became quite close with her mom at that Factor. And she's someone who I remember and who I think about regularly. I'm not going to cry again. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to Factor and meeting all these kids and adults too, who have those similar experiences. There's nothing like it. I mean, it's like advocacy summer camp, as weird as that sounds, going to Factor. It's like you make these friends, and I know it's a conference, a lot of parts of it are serious and about the science and about, all the great minds in osteosarcoma coming together. But at the end of the day, we're also there to have fun. And I think that the beautiful thing about Factor and the beautiful thing about MIB is we have this gorgeous singular to singular again, um, just balance of the emotional and the fun, and we're able to kind of weave them into each other, and almost like this friendship bracelet of chaos and love, that is the osteosarcoma world and community. um, so yeah, thank you for sharing the story about Christy, and just the Factor conferences. I mean, we really do all just come together and do our best, and that's all we can do at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people feel like they don't do enough. And you don't have to go to Capitol Hill to be an advocate. Obviously, that's a great thing if you can swing it, but that's not what advocacy is solely. There are so many other things that you can do. You can reach out to Child Life at your local hospital and be like, hey, are there any, new items that I can help procure to donate to Child Life? That is a way to advocate for other kids at your hospital. Or you can do something as simple as, you see someone online through, an osteosarcoma group who has just been diagnosed. You can just send them a DM and be like, hey, I just want you to know that I've been through it. And if there's anything, you want to ask, or if you want to learn about MIB or any other organizations, like I'm here as a resource. I feel like that the way to beat this cancer is together,
Mhm.
and that all of our advocacy work is so important. And I'm so happy that we're doing this. And I just advocacy can take so many forms, and I'm just so glad that we found our different niches and our different ways to put the message out that it needs to be more than four. More than four is
Yeah.
it's also such a great tagline, but
Mhm.
we need more than 4% of funding to be going to pediatric cancer research. I mean, that's just such a crazy number. um
Yeah.
Especially because so many of these diseases are under researched and undertreated. Yeah, I think that we're slowly but surely making progress, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I want to add one more thing about like Factor. We were talking about Sloane and Aaron and Christy and all of those younger osteo people who we get to meet when we go to Factor. I remember this past Factor, I got to hang out with Josie. I know, yeah, you guys got to meet Josie, and she was so cute, and she was just like the epitome of having a good mindset, like having a grand old time despite the cards that life has dealt you. Like it's just, and I remember one time when we were hanging out by ourselves, like we were just like talking, and then she was like, I want to be like you and I grew up. And I was like, no, I want to be like you and I grew up. Like it's just interesting. Like we draw strength from each other. And it's not even like the younger ones look up to us. Like we look up to the younger ones because we learn so much from each other. And like Mia said, we all have our different niches, and every single person that is a part of MIB and comes to Factor contributes something so unique, and it's just so beautiful because we're all like woven together beautifully, like a beautiful little quilt, like similar but different, and it's just, it's so nice. And yeah, it's just, I love that you brought up that story, Sloane, and I think that's just such a beautiful thing, and it's something that I think keeps all of us like going. Like it's just the community support and the fact that we have like our own little, because I know we all have like celebrities and people and idols and stuff that we look up to, but genuine, like for me, like the people that I look up to are people just like us, like people who go through what we go through, or and just keep going because we don't really have a choice, but it's beautiful that we do it together. And I think this is just such a beautiful podcast because we're talking about how all of this pain that cancer has caused us has turned into like glorious purpose. And it's going to continue to, and I think it's beautiful that we get to honor all of our OsteoAngels. Like we were just talking about Christy, and I know she passed around the same time that Penelope passed, and Camille. And it's just, these are all the people that we carry, and we move forward for the people that are still here, and we move forward for the people that aren't. And we push for better because the people that are still here deserve better, and the people that aren't deserved better. So we're going to continue pushing, and I appreciate all of you guys being here. I know, again, like we keep bringing up vulnerability, but it's huge. Like being vulnerable and talking about your experience here isn't something that's easy, and we applaud all of you. I think to wrap up this podcast, we're going to ask like one last good question. If another young person affected by cancer is listening right now and feeling too overwhelmed or scared to share their story, what advice do you all have for them? We'll start with Sloane.
I think my piece of advice is start small. Like, I think a lot of the time when you think about advocacy and being vulnerable, you have to think like, I have to share my entire story and I have to share like the most painful parts. That's not true. You can start with what you're comfortable with, and the more you experience it and the more you feel comfortable, the more you can add to your story. No one's going to be like, well, you didn't share that when you first came out, so it must be false. Like, that's just not going to happen. And I think just getting your foot in the door is what really helps, because then you can learn from other people doing it, and you get to connect with others and see the impact that you can have on the community. And even if it's not specifically within the cancer community, like I like to think a part of my advocacy is just sharing my like struggles sometimes with my friends in college who have never had to deal with anything, because I know for a fact that my friends are better off knowing someone like me and having my perspective than that. Like, if someone in the future in their lives gets cancer or has a medical issue, or they do, like, I know that they will at least be able to pull something from me. So even if it's not with an organization or anything like that, just a little bit of advocacy and vulnerability can go a very long way.
So beautifully put, Sloan. Thank you. I also just want to add a little tidbit that I learned at sleepaway camp when I was a kid, and I feel like it measures up with advocacy a little bit. And it's a therapy term as well, and it's that we have three zones. We have our comfort zone, our growth zone, and our danger zone. And if you're speaking, you never want to go into your danger zone because that's when the anxiety kind of sets in. And that's when you feel like you're going to break down. Like if you don't feel like you're emotionally ready, that's okay. If it feels like you're going to go into your danger zone, just speak when you're ready. You want to push into your growth zone. You don't want to go all the way into your danger zone, but you don't just want to stay in your comfort zone, because how else are you going to expand your circle of friends and experiences? And so I think that that's a really beautiful kind of a metaphor analogy, however you want to put it, that I've kind of brought into my advocacy work, is that, if you feel like it's too much for you, don't spread yourself too thin. But if you feel just that little bit of an edge, like, oh, I'm doing something that's vulnerable, it kind of lets you be more vulnerable next time, is essentially what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of this internal chain reaction that propels you forward, and lets you grow as an advocate and as a person, and hopefully not grow your tumors. But I know that our health is very personal, and that makes advocacy extremely personal. And I just want people who want to get involved to know that you can find your personal way to advocate in this community. There is always room at the table. There, we're always accepting new voices, and no matter what you have to say, and it's just important to get the full universal experience of what it's like to be an AYA with this cancer. And yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said, both of you. I think all of us were sitting here just nodding because we all take the words out of each other's mouths, truly. It's just like everyone knows exactly how to articulate it to where it's just a shared experience. What about you, Mackenzie? What advice would you have for viewers listening that are hesitant to start their advocacy journey or just a little bit scared to be vulnerable?
I think definitely once you've started making sure you know your boundaries, if somebody's interviewing you, maybe ask for the questions beforehand so you can make sure they're not asking something that's out of bounds, pretty much. Knowing what you're comfortable with, like Mia said, and doing stuff on your own timeline.
Definitely. I think a big part of it is just knowing your limits and recognizing your boundaries and setting those boundaries. Not everyone's advocacy journey looks the same, and what being an advocate looks like for Mia might not be the same as it does for Alejandro, and that's perfectly okay, because I promise, whatever you feel comfortable contributing is going to be impactful. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever it needs to look like for you, and everyone's going to love it and everyone's going to appreciate it, and your impact is going to be just as great. What about you, Alejandro? What advice do you have for our viewers?
Definitely kind of a bunch of what you all said. Have your boundaries. It's okay. This is your experience. Definitely, your testimony and your journey is so powerful. And you don't really know how many lives you can touch and how many people you can help until you get it out there. It can be a scary thing at first, just being open and vulnerable about what you've gone through. Do it at your own pace. Like y'all were saying, I mean, it looks different for everyone, but no matter how different it looks, it's still going to have a great impact. And I would just keep that in mind, don't do too much. Don't bite off more than you can chew, but definitely don't be too scared to where you don't share. People need to hear your story. It helps so many people, and it gives hope to people that don't have it. You're that light at the end of the tunnel. You're that inspiration to keep going. And like I said, this isn't the end of, the story. This isn't it. This is just the beginning, just a different way. And so I think that's important for people, especially with osteosarcoma, is just telling your story, being open and honest, and obviously being comfortable while you do it. But definitely, people need to hear your story. You don't really know how many people you'll help until you start sharing it. So
Hope is a big one. Hope is something that when people are actively in treatment and when things look dire and when the world around us seems like it's not supporting us, those who can make a difference and change the way things are right now aren't, it can be really easy to lose hope. So like Alejandro said, just remember that in sharing your story, you're inspiring hope. And sometimes that's all we have. And it can go a long way. So thank you all for being here again. Mia, I'll pass it to you, but really quick, I want to plug October next month is our spooky sarcoma stories episode. And that one is like the most fun episode. Definitely tune in.
Should we do costumes this year?
Can I dress? Dude.
Mayhaps.
Like, I was just about to ask you that. Like, you take words out of my head sometimes. But yeah, I think we should, but we'll talk about that. But if you want to hear like a fun one, all of our episodes are super important, super impactful, but this one in specific, like we like to have fun with it. And that's the one where I feel like where we're all kind of just let loose. And it's like, yeah, this story was really scary. This happened to me during my treatment, but let's have a good laugh about it now. Because laughter is the best medicine.
Laughter and trauma bonding, baby.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. But thank you all again. And again, like, thank you to Camille. Like, I know she's with us and she's always going to be with us. And what we do is largely because of what she did for MIB and for the community. And we'll always carry her and hold this podcast with so much love because we know it was created with so much love. So.
It really, really was. And I want to thank you all again as well, just for being here and for sharing your stories and for being alive today. Because the world would be a much darker place without you all in it. And the energy and effort that you put forth, like Alejandro said, is that bright light. But don't go towards the light at the end of the tunnel yet, please. And on that note, thank you again to the Moore family for their generous support of OsteAngel, our podcast that we love so much, so dearly, in creating this space for young adults experiencing cancer to share, relate, and heal together, to advocate. It makes such a difference in my life, and I know it makes a difference in so many of yours. And again, please reach out to us at any time if there are any other topics you want us to address or cover, or any silly jokes you want to send us, literally anything. Sammy and I are always here. And we're just out here in SoCal, just trying to do our best. So thank you for tuning into OsteAngel, the Osteosarcoma podcast. Again, please follow us on MIB Agents on all social media at the links in the description below for all of the intel and hot goss. Thank you to Alejandro, Sloane, and Mackenzie for joining us today. I truly love and appreciate and respect you all. And I will see you next episode. And for now, we are your hosts, Mia
and Sammy.
And that's the tea. Bye, everybody.